Evil Dead has returned, this time centering on a dysfunctional family at their remote summer home. If you ask me, the franchise hasn't had a bad movie yet, so the expectations going into this one are pretty high. Join us as we discuss Evil Dead Burn. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
I was saying Evil Dead Boo-Earns.
This is a horror movie podcast. We get together to talk about
That's
a movie.
a Simpsons joke. I don't know if you get it, but okay.
I'm familiar with The Simpsons, and yes, I'm familiar. Okay. Here's the thing, Tim. A lot of these classic Simpsons moments are so memed that even if I'd never seen a single episode, I guarantee I would have gotten that reference. Okay?
That's... well, I feel like you're still prime for it, but I don't know, like... I guess like even the younger kids, if they don't watch The Simpsons, they're probably still so bombarded with the memes that they have at least some, semblance.
I think so. Okay. But yeah, this is a horror movie podcast. That's how quickly Tim interrupted me today. I didn't even get to that part. We talk about a movie we watched this week, and of course it is a new release week. We had Evil Dead Burns out, the 6th Evil Dead movie. We will start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers. And of course, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps out a bunch. Rate us 5 stars in your podcast app, and you can support us on Patreon and get bonus stuff, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So yes, Tim's favourite movie of all time is Evil Dead 2. He's very opinionated when it comes to Evil Dead. I too am a big fan of the franchise. Evil Dead 2013 being my favourite. Come at me. Like, I think that upsets some people, but I don't care. It's awesome. And I love the original trilogy, to be clear. But I love Evil Dead 2013. It's great.
It's slight heresy, but it is a good movie, so I can't be too mad at it.
He's seething under that. You can see it in his eyes. He's seething. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get into the thoughts and feelings. Honestly, before I watched that, I don't know if I even knew. Other than the fact that it's an Evil Dead movie, so I'm expecting deadites and stuff of that nature. I don't think I knew really anything specific about the premise. I feel like when I went into Evil Dead Rise, it was like, okay, the sales pitches is this in an apartment building in a city, which is such a different setting for Evil Dead. With this one, I think, they were showing off more kind of some of the chaotic shots they were putting in the movie. They didn't really kind of emphasize like the setting or the characters or anything like that. So I was kind of going in pretty blind to all that side of stuff. I mean, how much did you know before you watched this?
Very little. So like, I was familiar with the director because we did his French Spider movie like a year or two ago.
Yes.
And like I knew it centered on like a family, so there's going to be a lot of family dynamics in play, but other than that, I didn't know much. What's kind of weird, which I think is like surprising for this movie, maybe it's just because I follow a lot of horror people, but I'm not super active on like social media anymore. But I mean, like everyone, I have a phone, and sometimes I have to wait in line or go to the bathroom or whatever. So I'm bored and I'll check whatever bad social media websites there are. And for whatever reason, I feel like people are playing pretty fast and loose with spoilers on this one. Like, I just be like, bored. Let me just pull this up, and people are like, yeah, man, that one scene. I'm like, whoa, okay, stop reading. And I don't know. It's kind of weird because I feel like people are a bit better with spoiler culture for the most part. People try to be understanding with these things, but maybe this was a movie that people didn't think like as many people cared about or whatever, so they're just a bit more fast and loose. But I feel like I only saw it on like Saturday, so it was just like a day after it came out, but still I feel like I was dodging spoilers left and right.
Yeah, I'd say I mean, admittedly, I don't really look at a lot of social media these days, so I guess my risks were, the most I heard was from you, which is that there was a mid and post credit scene, so I stayed all the way to the very end, but that was all I knew.
That was another like weirdly spoilery thing where I don't mind sitting through the credits, but a lot of times I go to the movies late at night, so it's like it's past midnight by the time the movie ends, so I'm like, if there's no after credits thing. I don't want to wait. So sometimes I'll take my phone out and check, just do a quick Google search, like, oh, is there a post credit scene? And even that dumb AI overview had like a spoiler. They're like, yes, there is an after credit scene that features the shocking. I was like, whoa, wait, stop right there.
But anyway, that's I guess get into just our thoughts and feelings here. Yep. I mean, and for the record, like, I quite liked Rise. Wasn't as good as 2013 or the original two, I would say. You probably thought Rise was the weakest, if I remember correctly.
Oh, 100%. Like, for me, I mean, before this movie, like, I don't want to give away my thoughts, but I thought Rise was easily, the weakest of the franchise, but I didn't think it was horrible. To me, it was like okay / fine. Like, I thought it was, a competent movie and had some interesting or neat things here or there, but I wasn't like super in love with it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it did some interesting things, and there was a nice kind of subtext to everything that was going on, and it did things that was different to 2013, but felt pretty brutal still. So I was quite fond of Rise, but hey,
And you're a big Lee Cronin head, right?
No, I am not. I hated his movie that he did before Evil Dead Rise, and we have not endured Lee Cronin's The Mummy yet. Or sorry, Blumhouse's Lee Cronin's The Mummy yet, but it's coming soon, and I'm not looking forward to it. So I think that's a case where Evil Dead raised his abilities up to a certain threshold, and then he went plummeting back down afterwards. Again, just based on how I think The Mummy looks. We'll find out soon enough. But with all that out of the way, let's rip off the plaster. Sorry, Band-Aid for the Americans. Tim, what did you think of Evil Dead Burn?
I thought this movie was uneven as hell. Ultimately, I'm going to be pretty negative on it. I'm falling on the side of disliking it, but I guess with the caveat of I do think there's some cool stuff about it. I think the gore is pretty good in this. There's certainly some pretty brutal stuff that happens, and we liked this director's previous film, and I do think that at times the movie is directed well. Like, there's parts that are like pretty interesting, like there'll be certain shots that I'm like, okay, that looks cool or whatever, like like just like a random example, but there's like a part towards the end where a character is just kind of like running in the distance, and like the sky's all red, and I was like, oh, this is actually looks quite good. On the flip side of that, though, there's also times in the movie where I don't know what they're doing with the editing or whatever, but it's just like cut so quickly and shaky that like I don't even know like exactly what was going on at moments. I actually thought that was like kind of distracting at certain points, and then even if I was gonna say like, oh, it has like cool gore and kills and all that stuff, it doesn't really make up for the fact that I just did not like the story or the characters pretty much at all in this movie. It's pretty dour, which I mean, it's not like Evil Dead is usually a happy fun time, but
sometimes to be fair, Army of Darkness is pretty lighthearted, Tim. I don't know, it's not, sometimes it is.
That is true. Yeah. Like I think I was talking to someone about this, and I like the way they put it, where obviously we've had enough Evil Deads now that there's different things you can like about it. So yeah, like if you don't like maybe a bit of the goofier, zanier stuff of the original trilogy, maybe these newer ones are, more up your alley. But to me, one of the, things I like so much about those original ones is the blend of the over the top and craziness, with which to me just kind of offsets like the brutalness of it. And then, like the 2013 one, like I wouldn't say it's very like funny or cartoony or anything, but it was really well done. That I don't really mind that take on it. But then with this one, I don't know, I just I didn't really care about like a lot of what they were doing, and I don't know. I found the characters just to be very uninteresting, pretty one note. I do like the premise of a dysfunctional family, and how, the Necronomicon and Deadites and everything would affect that and interact with that. But I don't know, the way they present it in this movie didn't do much for me. And then I don't know, like, trying to think of, like, I don't want to, like, sound mean or anything. Like, I don't think anyone in here was, like, necessarily bad actors or anything, but I don't know, I just felt like they didn't really belong in the movie. Like, I don't know, there's something about, like, like, I wouldn't say like I hated them, but just like a lot of the characters just felt like kind of nothing, to me, and I just didn't really like, care like that much about them on the screen. Like, I thought the main character was okay, and then like, the older matriarch, the grandma or whatever, like, she was kind of fun, but other than that, I really disliked the dad character. I just thought, like, man, he's already like so intense before like everything's going down, that I don't know, I don't think it's that interesting when, I guess maybe minor spoiler, but he becomes a Deadite. But it's like, all right, well, I mean, you're already kind of like shitty beforehand. Like, I don't know, it's, yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I'll complain more about when we get into spoilers and stuff, but yeah, I hate to say it, it didn't really do much for me. With again, I don't want to be like, say it's like complete trash or whatever. Like, there are entertaining things in here, but just, yeah, as a whole, I don't think it really worked.
Okay, interesting. So I saw you post on Blue Sky, the one social media that I occasionally look at, and you said, "Oh, cool! They finally made a bad Evil Dead movie." I saw that on like Sunday or whenever you put that out, and I went, "Oh, okay." Tim doesn't like it, and I hadn't seen it yet, so I'm like, "Okay, that's got my anticipation in weird muddy waters." I'm like, either I'm going to agree with Tim and just be kind of miserable, or I'm going to disagree with Tim. I'm going to come out of that movie thinking it's great, and this is going to be a bloodbath. Like that. Those were the two options. So yeah, I went in open mind, wanting to like it, and I don't think I feel that dissimilar to you, because ultimately, I think there's a lot of the violence and the gore. When things get chaotic, I actually think there's some inventive little sequences of like how the violence or the gore, the chaos kind of pans out. I think there's like 2 or 3 really standout sequences, and there's a couple of things that aren't as good. But like, there is big moments that are very brutal, and I think Evil Dead 2013 kind of established that's like part of the modern style of Evil Dead, is that if nothing else sticks, it needs to be brutal, because Rise was brutal, 2013 was brutal, this one's brutal too. And I think the thing I agree with though as well is that these characters, for the most part, are so miserable and unlikable that it's very hard to give a shit about any of them or what their problems are. And here's the thing, right? Evil Dead 2013 didn't really have that much comedy. There's some maybe like dark humor to like some of the violent stuff happening, but for the most part it's played pretty straight. And obviously they're doing something kind of, it's a bit of a downer. They're out to help someone with an addiction problem, and everyone's kind of concerned about her. It's not a happy group to go doing a happy thing. They're not having a fun weekend away or anything. But here's a big thing with that, aside from anything else, right? I'm not saying they're the greatest characters in the world, but ultimately that group of friends is there to help their friend. They're there to do something good, to hopefully help her life get better. It's noble, you might say. It's a likable action they're doing. Evil Dead Rise, there's kind of this maternal subtext of this character who doesn't want to be a mother, and that sort of plays throughout, and but it's very much subtext. This movie This movie does not know what subtext is because it spells out everything that it's trying to talk about in like the entire time. And the problem is that from the very, very first time we meet any of these characters, like it's so over the top in your face with how awful some of them are in this weird family that there's nothing to discover and like get to know. It's like from second one, they are going at 110% of how unlikable like this one character is, who's kind of like, you know, the husband guy, and like every interaction they have is just like there's nothing to like about any of it, and it's just by the time you get to the title screen, I'm already kind of like, like there's been nothing here. It's all just misery and anger and nothing else. There's like nothing to latch onto. There is one or two decent characters who are likable in the sense that they are not assholes, right? There's a couple, and arguably they get the almost the worst treatment in some ways with how bad they get it.
Oh, sure.
But everyone else is a complete piece of shit in one way or the other, and like there's almost a tone maybe where that could kind of work, but I don't know if it worked here because ultimately I wasn't really enjoying the family dynamics all that much.
Yeah, I mean, if this was like Arrested Development with Deadites or something, like, I mean, that could be fun, but yeah, like everything is just so, you know, grief, trauma, which again, you know, I feel like I've said this on, you know, other episodes before, but yeah, I'm not opposed to having, you know, these ideas of like trauma and everything in your movie. I mean, obviously there's many examples where, you know, that's used quite effectively. It's just like you were saying with this, it's so on the nose and it's so like kind of miserable the whole time that I don't know, it's just not like fun to watch.
Yeah, like in Evil Dead Rise, like they are a likable group of characters and you're rooting for the main character to save the kids. Like there's something to get invested in. Evil Dead 2013, they're ready to do something good and there's something to root for, and you know, those characters who kind of come into their own by the end. Like there's these things that make it click and make the characters likable, and this movie like never like has that really. Like the main character obviously isn't one of the assholes, right? She isn't, but at the same time it's kind of just, well, she's the one who's the victim of everything, so we're rooting for her because of that. But there's never anything about her that is root-worthy besides that. It's like, oh, you can feel bad for her, sure, but there's never anything like, oh, you know, I want her to succeed doing this, or I like her because of this. It's a bit more, I don't know.
Yeah, like I honestly don't really know anything about the character. Like I have no idea anything about her personality. I guess the only thing we really know, I mean, other than, you know, she's overcoming, you know, this trauma and stuff, but like all we really know about her, I guess, is like she likes to take pictures from that, you know, little scene in the beginning or whatever. But that doesn't even like come into play at any point. Yeah,
well, I would maybe disagree a little bit and say that we do know a reasonable amount that we can sort of like take from everything else that happens. They kind of imply a lot of things, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But she just, I don't know. It's very much all just about this one thing, and because it's beating you over the head with it so much. Again, from the very first time you meet these characters, it starts beating you over the head with it, where I already kind of like was getting a feeling, I'm like, okay, I've got a feeling I'm not going to like these characters very much, or at least not like their problems and the way they argue about them and the way that they confront them, and ultimately it never really gets over that problem. I just it's a script problem more than anything else. But I think basically what it comes down to is I would say that this movie's actually directed fairly well. It's just that the script is rough. And then obviously there's some like bigger choices that are made that depending on how you feel as an Evil Dead fan, if you know, if they strayed too far from what an Evil Dead movie is, if they made some changes to the rules of the lore. I mean, that's like another debate entirely, but there's some stuff there that you could talk about.
Yeah, like I mean that'll be more like spoiler talk, but personally for me, I really like this, you know, as much as, you know, these movies like haven't really lit my world on fire. well, I mean, again, I quite like the remake, but I'm just talking about like this in Evil Dead Rise. But I do like the idea of, all right, let's hand the reins off to like these new up and coming people and have them do something like completely different. So I do like that notion. So yeah, we're not just getting like the same thing or just doing like, an easy reboot that, is just kind of hitting all the same notes or whatever. So I do like the idea of that for these movies. But with that being said, I do feel like if you're like, I don't want them to really be tackling like any lore or anything like that. To me is kind of like, okay, that should be like something only like Sam Raimi or Bruce Campbell can kind of come up with, like, yeah. So there's not like a ton of that in this movie, but they definitely, they definitely touch on some things that I'm like, I would have rather you just kind of left that alone.
I mean, I don't even necessarily mind them touching on some stuff, or doing something new, or adding like an element to the look. Because like Rise added something on that I thought was actually kind of cool, and I was like fine with that because that's a neat little idea. I think the problem I have in this one isn't even so much any of the rules that it adds or changes or anything like that. It's more just that basically the reason for everything happening is a MacGuffin that has just been made up. That, oh, there's this thing that exists, and that's going to be the driving force for the entire plot. Is this thing, and like I just felt like here's a reason we've written into the script for why all the things are happening. That's it. That's it. Go on, have fun.
Yeah, without like going into spoilers and stuff. Like I don't really like the idea that the Deadites have a goal in this. Like there's a very specific thing they're trying to do, which is like, oh, I kind of just want them to, want to be unleashed and cause chaos. I don't want them to like have ulterior motives, and so I didn't really like that aspect. Like you said, it's like a MacGuffin, but still.
Yeah, the thing is Evil Dead 2013 kind of... That didn't give them a goal per se, but there was kind of an end game to the Deadites existing, and I actually really liked that in 2013. But this here is a little different, because this is just simply villains want MacGuffin, and they come for MacGuffin. It's that boringly simple, and that's just not that exciting ultimately. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean... Ultimately, at the end of the day, if it's done well, I don't really care what you do. Like, so, yeah, this is kind of my preference. And if they did the same stuff here, but completely knocked it out of the park, and the characters were awesome and engaging, and everything was working on every level, then yeah, I wouldn't really be complaining. But it's just kind of sticks out,
If the characters were great and engaging, combined with the gore that's already there and stuff, like... having like a lame MacGuffin as a reason for why things happen would be like, well, shrug, who cares? The movie's so much fun, who gives a shit? Like that would be the attitude towards that. But obviously it's a lot more of a mixed bag, so it's sticking out a little bit more because it's another thing on the list of like why things aren't quite working. Most of the stuff I think we want to talk about now is probably in spoilers. I guess I'll just say... Actually, no, that's probably still a spoiler, so I won't say that. I was going to ask you a question, but just in case people might not like me revealing that. So,
okay.
As for anything else, I will say that the final 15 minutes, I do think are probably some of the lamest stuff, just because, because like when you think back to the previous two Evil Dead movies, 2013. The showdown was great. Like if you were enjoying the movie up until that point, that showdown at the end of Evil Dead 2013 absolutely sends it into the stratosphere. Evil Dead Rise does that cool stuff with the... I don't want to spoil it too much in case you've not seen it, but like, all the merging thing going on, right? Which felt unique, felt different.
It's certainly my favorite part, yeah. Yeah.
This one, it's like Vecna from Stranger Things. Kinda. I won't say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything, but that's just what it reminded me of, was Vecna from Stranger Things. So CG Vecna from Stranger Things, basically.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the whole movie, I was waiting for this character to show back up, and yeah, I was expecting they were going to be the big bad, and then I thought it was such a disappointment, and yeah, they come back, and it's just...
Which, for the record, I was fine with that being the case. Like, I was fine with them showing up and being the big bad. It's just that the actual like big badness was terrible.
Yeah. I'll do one quick unrelated tangent before we go into spoilers, just because this kind of made me laugh, and I thought it was weird. So I went like Saturday at 10:30. The theater wasn't too packed, but there was a couple of groups of people scattered throughout, and this one couple, a couple of rows behind me, super annoying. Felt the need to comment on every trailer, but luckily shut up, for most of the movie. But during the Resident Evil trailer,
I got that too.
Once it ended, yeah. So the guy, I just thought this was a weird sentiment. The guy said, "Shitty trailer, but the movie looks good." Which I just thought, like, I guess it's certainly possible to have a bad trailer and then a good movie, but I don't know. I feel like in this case, I mean, I think the trailer is quite good, but also like, I feel like the trailer is going to be representative of the movie. So I'm like, if you don't like the trailer, why do you still think the movie looks good? I don't know.
I hate to side with the stranger, Tim, but I actually think I know what he's saying, right? Not that I agree with him in this case, but there is definitely trailers where the snippets you get of the movie are like, oh, that looks good. It looks, visually quite good. They're doing stuff with characters you like, but you think the trailer's poorly edited or has a stupid song on top or something like that, or So there is an example where you could be like, oh, I still think the movie looks good based on what you can see inside the trailer, but I do think the trailer itself is bad.
Yeah, I don't think that is an impossible scenario. I just feel like that trailer specifically is a weird one to, pinpoint that down to. I mean,
I agree. Maybe, I like that trailer. To be fair, like I agree. I think that trailer's good, but like I can see the scenario. Well, I'm sure I've thought it in the past where that's come up. Shall we do spoilers, Tim? Shall we do spoilers for Evil Dead Burn? All right, let's get into it. So, the opening of this movie, during the titles, there's some sort of like old research stuff with someone listening to the tapes of, the Book of the Dead and all that. But the actual opening is kind of a follow-up to Rise, which I was not expecting any kind of connective tissue, but basically... I'm assuming, because it's been also since I've watched Rise, so recognizing there's going to be a thing. But it seems like the girl who went to the lake at the end of Rise, but it was actually the opening of Rise, most of it. But you saw at the end of the movie, she went to the lake, and that's how that all linked up. She seems to wake up in the lake and attack these two guys that are in a boat, and that's how the movie opens. And it's pretty brutal, actually. I mean, it kind of stamps its intent of like, no, we're going to F people up in this movie. Mainly the one guy who gets the fishing line kind of wrapped around his face, and it's like pulling him into the water, and it's like just dragging his skin, and you can see, and by the time he gets ripped away from it, it's just his entire face is just kind of like pulp and just done away with.
Yeah, so I'd completely forgotten. Like, I did watch Rise maybe once or twice, like after it came out, but definitely not recently. So I didn't like remember. I remember that scene, from the beginning and the end of the movie, but I wasn't quite sure if that was supposed to be the same person. That I meant to try to look it up later, and then I completely forgot. I will say I was kind of like, once she attacks them, I do think the scene is pretty cool, but I did immediately kind of get nervous, like just at the start of the scene, like just the way the guys were talking. I was like, oh, like I'm not really like feeling this dialogue, and like I'm assuming that these are people that are just gonna get killed, like they're not gonna be main characters. But I mean, even if I'm like already in this opening scene being like, this doesn't really feel like, I don't know, like what I want out of an Evil Dead movie. I don't know. I was already like, kind of a little on edge.
I mean, I don't know if I have anything nice to say about the dialogue here, but I don't know if I was at like worrying levels because of this. So I mean, they're brutal. The second guy gets boiled in the water basically, and he comes out, and just for the extra little bit of goriness, the Deadite, as she's walking past his like dead body, like steps on his hand, and you just see his skin peel down because it's so badly burned and melted or boiled or whatever the right word is. So it's like, okay, it's pretty brutal. Like visually arresting, these moments of gore.
And I will give them credit, like, you know, with Evil Dead Rise, one of the issues I had is, like, I like the idea of, like, oh, like, yeah, we're sitting in a high rise. I thought we're really going to explore, like, all these levels of the building, and it didn't really do that, you know, for me here. With this one, I guess I'll give them credit. Like, they did do quite a lot of things with burning. Like, I was like, all right, there's definitely a theme going on of people getting burned a lot.
I mean, I wouldn't have cared if not a single person got burned. I think that's my stance on this. I wouldn't have given a shit.
I mean, I'm not saying I love it. I'm just like, well, I was curious why it was called Evil Dead Burn, and I was like, oh, I guess to their credit, quite a few things burn or melt or whatever in this movie. So I guess there's that.
Very good. But she stumbles out onto a road and gets hit by a car, and it does this smash cut to an ass in your face.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I knew you'd forget. That's exactly the sort of detail you'd forget, Tim. I remember the big booty in my face when it cut to this.
Again, I was kind of like, okay. I mean, I don't mind a big booty. I mean, you know, we celebrate, you know, booties on the show, but again, I was like, is this what I want out of my Evil Dead film? Just a big ass in your face.
I feel like you're too like hypercritical in your first view, Tim. You're sitting going, is this what I want in my Evil Dead movie? Is this what I want in my Evil Dead movie? Is this lighting in this scene what I want in my Evil Dead movie? I get it. I get it means so much to you. Poor Tim. But I mean, I think the humor does fall flat for me in most of this movie, but most of it comes later when we're at the house and there's like beats there where, like, you know, they'll cut to something like silent happening, like the grandmother going up in her like electric, you know, stair chair or something while there's something else going on, and every time it tried to do the awkward quiet humor, it just fell flat for me. But the cut to the booties, kind of whatever, it is definitely a bold choice, but like it's setting up, we're at a fancy club / restaurant, and we're introduced to our main group of characters, right? So we have Alice, who is French. So the director apparently is like, no, I'm casting a French main character because I'm French and I can do that. I have the power.
Yeah.
Vive la France. And then she is with Will. They are married, and they're celebrating his brother, Joseph, his birthday, and his girlfriend Thea is there, right? Now, Thea and Joseph seem to have a happy enough relationship. They seem friendly, whatever. Will and Alice, on the other hand, and this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, like, from the very first second, it is just unpleasant to be around these people, because he says, oh, this is a present from both of us, and she looks a little bit taken aback by that, and you immediately get this impression he likes to flash his cash around to feel, you know, powerful or whatever. And then she like gives a more heartfelt gift on her own when she's like, hey, I've got something for you as well, and she pulls out, and it's basically because she's like an amateur photographer. She got like a nice photo of them that she's developed in a nice frame, and it's in black and white and whatever. And immediately Will's like, you gave them another gift. You didn't tell me about this other gift. That was from us. I look an asshole now. And he just starts like bickering, and like they tell each other to simmer down. The other couple are like, hey, let's just have a nice time. Let's stop fighting. But within like 10 seconds of pretending everything's okay, they start fighting again, right? And it happens like 3 or 4 times in the scene and just keeps escalating. And then it happens again outside the club where they start fighting to the point where he gets mad at her and punches the mirror of the car, and like, he seems, you know, he's coming across as a toxic, abusive asshole. But like, these characters the entire time, they are just miserable to be around. And there's not even like a shred of like, I don't know. I don't know how you like, I mean, maybe the idea of domestic violence, which is, you know, it's revealed as the movie goes on that there has been actual domestic violence between them. Maybe that is perhaps not the right topic for an Evil Dead movie, or at the very least, maybe the way this movie beats you over the head with it is just not the way you should go about doing it. But this all leads to Will getting pissed off because he's a hot-headed asshole. He gets in his fancy car and he drives off despite the fact that he's drunk. And he's actually the one who hits the deadite. So it kind of like marries back up to that opening scene. And the car flips and the deadite kind of like says some stuff to him. And it reveals that, at least partially, she's like, oh, your family, you're going to take us to it or him or whatever. So it's like, oh, this is a targeted thing. And they're actually hunting this family for some reason. And we get to the reasons why later. But he burns up in the car wreck and dies, which you would probably think would be like, oh, we should all be happy because he was a complete dickhead. But no, we're going to be wallowing in the misery of his parents and the extended family as they are all sad and uncomfortable for the next 90 minutes. Buckle in. No pun intended.
I mean, maybe it doesn't really matter, but like, did it really have to kill him? Like, if it just wants to get close to his family, like, couldn't it have possessed him and then it could have just went about his day or whatever?
I guess. I mean, I don't have an answer for you, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, it's a minor thing. Like, it does. I guess it doesn't really matter either way. But
I mean, if Deadites ever done long form possession where they pretend to be an active person for like days so they can get to an end goal, we've never seen that before from a Deadite. I don't think they tend to just sort of stick around in one place and torment everyone.
Yeah, which is why it seems kind of weird that I feel like they seem to be like so much more like planning and conniving in this. I don't know. I didn't really care for that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, everything after this, 'cause that's when you get the title card, and then afterwards we get his funeral, which so this is like the first time where there was like some awkward comedy where I was like, oh, like, are we doing like is this going to be like the way it tries to be funny? And this is like the construction site next door promised to stop doing work for the funeral, but they keep using jackhammers and stuff and whatnot. So like the eulogies being given and like there's just and other noises happening.
Yeah, it's kind of weird the way it's played out. Maybe it's because like the tone is often so like oppressively like dour or whatever, that even these parts that I'm like, okay, I know this is supposed to be a joke, but it doesn't feel like being played for comedy. It
feels like a clash because like you said, it's so oppressively miserable because everything up until this funeral here in this little section is Alice is clearly like got conflicted feelings and she's depressed and she's coming to the funeral, but she's not dressed up for it. She's in, a hoodie and like, trainers and whatever. And like the parents judge her for that. They keep staring at her like, oh, you didn't come here like dressed up and ready with something. Because there's a moment where the woman doing the service says, hey, would his wife like to come up and say something? And she says, oh, I didn't prepare anything. And like both the parents, the in-laws like turn and look at her with like just daggers in their eyes. Like they are livid that she is not just gushing and crying over the loss of their son.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of well, I mean, I understand the parents' perspective, but I thought it was weird because then like the priest says something like, oh wow, like she's also shocked by
judging
it,
her.
Like, yeah, like, but I feel like that's pretty normal. Like, yeah, I've been to some funerals and it's like not everyone goes up and gives a speech. Like, like even the people that are really close sometimes they might be grieving or whatever, or they don't like public speaking, or like there's plenty of reasons why you wouldn't do a speech. Like I mean, obviously you shouldn't think about it because it's supposed to be a joke or whatever, but still, it's like that's unprofessional.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things here that kind of bug me. Like there's a weird, like out of nowhere thing where, because obviously Thea and Joseph's there, right? And they're happy to see her because they're actually friends with her, so they're quite nice to her, even though the parents are staring at her all weird. And they bring up, there's a gun in the glove box of the car, and she's like, wait, since when do you have a gun, Thea? And she's like, oh no, it's Joseph's. He wants to feel like a badass or something. And they kind of like laugh it off, and I went, there is nothing about this character from that opening scene where the gift he received from his brother was $1,000 gold pen because he wants to be a writer. And anything we see later in this movie that justifies this idea that he wants a gun to feel like a badass. It feels like just a really shoehorned in reasons to why there's a gun around later on. Like, that's it. It's just to give them a reason to why there's a gun.
Yeah, it's so weird because he kind of, on the one hand, he feels like an important character, but then he also feels like there's just long stretches where like the movie forgets about him. So it kind of feels like they try to set stuff up with him, and I guess maybe there's some resolutions, but it never feels like, you know, like you're getting much out of the character. Like you know, like obviously the French woman, I already forget her name.
Alice.
But Alice, yeah. Oh, our favorite name.
Shut up, you son of a bitch.
But yeah, I mean, she's obviously, you know, the main character, which I feel like makes it kind of weird because it feels like, yeah, they do try to like do other stuff with like people in the family and having them like, you know, have these like revelations or overcome these things. It just feels like never really that important because like they're not the main characters.
Yeah, I mean, Thea ends up probably being the most just nice character who's likable. Like, she's the most likable one by far. Not that Alice is unlikable, but because she's in the fights with Will up front, like once you find out more about like him being abusive and stuff, obviously you sympathize with her more and you understand there's context for it. But our introduction to her was her and him bickering, so both of them came off as pretty unlikable in that scene. Joseph seems like he might be likable, although there's one particular moment where he crosses the Rubicon into, oh no, you've made a bit of a boo-boo. You've basically almost done a Bear from Obsession sort of jump into, oh, you're a monster now. So we'll get to that. But anyway, the whole thing here is that, again, you want some awkwardly placed comedy? How about the guy who takes the casket back to the crematorium, putting on his earphones and starting to dance around to a rap song as he preps the casket and the furnace and all that?
Yeah, and even like when he's first, you know, wheeling the coffin away and he's like having trouble getting it down, you know, like the stairs or whatever, and like that's
in front of everyone. Yeah.
Again, it's this weird clash because yeah, they are very obviously trying to play it for laughs, but I'm just like, it's not funny. Like I don't care about this. And then yeah, and I also thought this scene was weird. So it's like, yeah, he's getting all this stuff ready, but before he puts the coffin through, you know, the dad comes, and we don't really know a ton about the dad other than we just get that he's obviously very intense because he's just constantly staring people down. And again, it feels like super one note. Like, it's like, okay, we get it, you're like intimidating, probably gonna assume yeah, with what we know about this family, that you're also like a toxic piece of shit or whatever.
Yeah, at the very least toxic enough that like your son, even if you're not as bad as him, you definitely pushed him further than you were. You know, you like your attitude probably created the asshole that Will was.
I don't know, I still kind of felt that like the scene with him and the person working at the funeral was kind of weird because, like, you know, the guy knocks on the door and he's like, I want one more moment alone with my son. And like I feel like the funeral worker is like already like, you know, shitting his pants. Like, you know, I mean, obviously, again, he looks intense and can be intimidating, but like he hasn't really done anything quite so far yet that you have to be like, you know, like, I don't know. I just thought it kind of played out kind of weird, but again, it's weird. And then, you know, we get this kind of stuff. Like, I thought was like, you know, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, yeah, he's, you know, obviously very sad. And then we hear the knocking coming from inside the coffin. And so obviously, you know, Will's not quite dead yet. And, you know, he's coming out and everything. I did find this really weird that, okay, we see, you know, like Will's hand comes out, you know, he burns his dad. And then we don't really get like a full reveal, but basically we're seeing, you know, the dad's like freaking out as, Will's coming out and killing.
Yeah, he's looking at him, but we don't get to see what's going on or what Will looks like. We just see Dad's reaction to all of it.
It's so like bizarre to me that we don't see Will like for almost the entire movie until he pops back up at the end. Like, what is he doing that whole time? Like, just hanging out?
It's a good question, because halfway through the movie I was thinking, well, Will's eventually showing up, but I'm like, why is he not showing up yet? Yeah. Like I don't know why it's taking so long, but very strange, because it obviously cuts really weirdly here, where it just cuts from him looking in horror at what his dead son or undead son or deadite son, whatever you want to call him. It cuts from him just looking in horror to him being in the car, like beeping the horn, being like, come on, it's time to go home. So it's like, oh, we've just like cut from him looking in horror to him being normal. And I guess obviously the idea is that he's already kind of been possessed as a deadite at this point. Or so, whatever, maybe it's like a slow burn type thing.
I'm assuming, yeah. Burn, yeah.
Yeah, very good. I know. I impress myself sometimes. But it's like, okay, they're driving back to the local family house, which apparently the parents left to Joseph, although it's pretty run down now. And they're going to have lunch there and, spend the day as a family, whatever the plan is.
This feels like a weird way to basically just get them in, like, a rundown. Like, it's not quite a cabin in the woods, but it basically has, like, the same feel. I do think it's strange where, the way they talk about it is kind of like, oh, yeah, like we left you our summer home and you haven't really been keeping up with like some of the maintenance and stuff. And it's like, oh, this house looks like it's been abandoned for 50 years. Like,
yeah, I know.
It's like, it doesn't look like, we haven't been here in a few months and we might need to do some cleaning. It's like, no one's ever lived here.
Yeah, because it's like, the way they make it sound like it's been a few years, it's like, well, it'd be dusty. And like maybe a couple of things, like maybe one tree's maybe grown into a window or something, but no, this has got like rotten bits of wood and everything looks dirty and like it looks rough. So like I don't know, maybe Joseph's been going around just like firing his gun off into like the walls and stuff. Maybe he's been accelerating the process. I don't know. Yeah. Oh dear. So, they have like a few awkward scenes. They set up some of the stuff that the reason why the Deadites are after this family clearly is because the grandfather, right? So there's the old grandmother who's obviously got Alzheimer's or something like that, where she's not remembering things and she keeps confusing things. Her husband, the grandfather, was this researcher listening to all the stuff, and he was obsessed with researching the Book of the Dead, and he was part of the circle of, what was the name of the group? Wise Men, Circle of Wise Men, sure. Yeah. Circle jerk of wise men, I bet they were all chugging it out every chance they got. But it's like, okay, so that's why this family, I guess, then, and it turns out to all be about this dagger. The dagger that can actually harm deadites and it will instantly kill them if you stab them with this dagger. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's the thing we've got now. It's just a magic dagger that can kill deadites. I don't think that's been a thing before, has it?
Yeah, in Evil Dead 2, they had the Kandarian dagger.
Okay, it's been a while since I watched Evil Dead 2, apparently, but all right.
All right, yeah, like, I don't know if you, like, I mean, I guess, it's been a while, but, like, I mean, it's in the movie, and, like, it is a thing, but, like, it's one of those things where, like, it doesn't really feel like they make a big deal about it, like, it's not, like, they're not giving it the gravitas that they do in this movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my complaint that it's still just a MacGuffin, it still stands, because it's really just, the Deadites are just here to try and find this dagger, I guess to take it off the board so that they can't be stopped, but I'm like, yeah, but like, you could still just not get stabbed with it. Like, it's not a complete, kill switch that'll just kill all Deadites instantly. Yeah,
and I'm assuming that they've known about it before. So like, why has it never been an issue like up until now? Like again, it just like, it's weird to me where it's like, we don't need all this extra stuff. You can just have the Deadites here causing chaos, and especially
I don't know if they actually outright confirm this, but I think the implication might be that Joseph, because he's been researching what his grandfather was into, might have been playing some of the tapes, and maybe that's what triggered the Deadites attack. Like that's why the one in the water woke up.
Okay, so So yeah, we're saying the one in the water was from Evil Dead Rise, but maybe she's just been kind of laying dormant, and then with him playing the tapes, that's what kind of. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, when I say playing the tapes, I don't mean it's like it said the spooky words that raises deadites, because that would be different. That would be more local. I think the idea is that, that's the family that has the dagger, so that's why we've got this mission to go get it now, because now we have a lead on them, effectively. It's weird to think of deadites having a lead on something, but that's effectively what it is.
Yeah, it's. I'm just saying the same thing over and over again, but yeah, it just felt so unnecessary, and I just didn't really care about it at all. It's like, let's just let them unleash them, like, so chaos, they could just be drawn to like how dysfunctional this family is, like maybe that's just something they want to play with or whatever. It's just like,
they don't have to be drawn just randomly, like, all this stuff sitting in the attic, just play the tape and there you go, boom, someone said the words and that's why deadites are attacking. There you go, done. Like, no explanation otherwise needed.
Again, it feels like that's gonna be a big thing that comes into play, that's like, okay, Joseph is a writer, he's a researcher, he knows all this stuff about it, so he's gonna be like this big character that's gonna be dropping knowledge or know what to do or how to find stuff, and it never really comes into play. Like,
he doesn't know jack shit.
Yeah.
Not a single thing. So anyway, these scenes all around here, there's obviously, once we get in the house, remembering the order of everything's going to be fairly difficult, to be honest, but some of the early stuff, but before they have lunch, it's basically just like a bunch of stuff where the mum gets a lot more of a spotlight. Susan, Joseph and Will's mum, where she clearly is like, I sacrificed things that I cared about. I used to make like these fancy candlesticks, and like I did like pottery or whatever you would call that craft, and I gave it up because I wanted to be, my family's important, and I'm a mother, and I had to look after my mother when she got sick and all that. And Alice is like, well, it's a shame you gave this stuff up, but Susan's like, no, my family's more important. I'm nothing without my family, which I thought was interesting in a thematic sense, just because it's kind of the opposite of Rise, because Rise was all about someone who was scared to have a family, and this movie's about a family that is toxic, or maybe the toxic attitude of, well, once you have a family, you're not allowed to be your own person anymore. You're just a cog in the family. So it was an interesting.
It's interesting.
Like, I could see the potential parallels there if you wanted to play with that a little bit.
Yeah, I actually thought the mom was probably the most like interesting character to me, because again, the dad is just very one note, like, we get it, you suck, and like
he stares at you intently. That's it.
Yeah, like the mom is much more interesting to me, where it's like, like you were saying, like you like sacrificed all this stuff, and because you're very into family, and also like there's an interesting idea where like, she like is holding her son in such a high regard, and I'm assuming that she probably doesn't know that he is like that he was abusive, or I don't know if she turned like a blind eye to it or whatever, but I don't know, like I thought maybe a more interesting idea would be like her also having to like come to grips with.
See if the main arc of the movie was her learning that her son that she's mourning over was an abusive piece of shit, and like the fight, like her denying that and not wanting to believe it, but the final kind of end of the arc was her accepting that her son was a monster. That would actually be an interesting arc over the course of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, like I think that'd be something, much more interesting, instead of just like, playing her for like, kind of this secondary villain, I guess,
And on top of that, you could even have that be a case of like, she kind of hates Alice up front and kind of looks at her as this unwanted French wife that came back with them one day, and now she's being disrespectful on the funeral and all that. Like, you could almost do a thing where by the end she would maybe like actually form more of a genuine friendship with her, because she'd understand that her daughter-in-law's a victim and would maybe respect who she is more, and maybe one of them would still die by the end, but before they do, like, they'd come to this like understanding of who each other are. But no, like you said, she's just the secondary villain at points, to be honest. Even without being a deadite, she's kind of the secondary villain.
Yeah. And then real quick, just to kind of go through like everyone here, like so they're the people of the family we didn't really talk about is like the grandmother, who again, there's a lot of like stuff that's kind of tried to play for laughs with her, which maybe every now and again I might have been like, okay, that's a little something there. But like you said, there's a lot of stuff that she does that's more just like, okay, yeah, I get you're trying to be funny with this, like, yeah, her stare going up or whatever, but it's not really working. But I do think it is interesting to, have an older person who's, suffering like from dementia, and to see how that like, comes into play with, all these deadites and chaos and stuff going around. And they did like maybe one or two things here or there, but like, it doesn't feel like something that's maybe fully explored or whatever. But I don't know. How'd you feel about this character?
Mostly she was kind of like, whenever they wanted to do like a cut to a joke, it tended to be her. Yeah. So I was finding her kind of annoying as a character, honestly. They do a couple of interesting things later on, like maybe the grossest thing in the whole movie involves her false teeth. So we'll get to that.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, were you not disgusted by that?
I mean, I think it is pretty gross, but I mean, there's something that I would say is a little grosser, but
well, we can have a debate once we've talked about what both those moments are. But I mean, I didn't feel too strongly. Like, I almost felt like almost just this extra character that I had to take stock of and like have be around and sort of assess where she is at any given time, and why aren't the Deadites just going after her like initially or whatever.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and then the only other person we didn't really talk about, and I guess I'm using person in quotes, but, there's a dog in this movie, which...
Before he becomes a dogite.
Yeah. So I heard some people, had a big problem with this because, yes, there's a scene where, the dad brutally attacks the dog, although, again, it's another one of the scenes that's, like, cut so quickly and stuff like that, you really don't see much, but... people, don't like it, obviously, when animals, get hurt and stuff. And, I mean, obviously, I don't like it either, but, so I did feel bad for the dog. I'm not gonna, say the movie should be boycotted or review bombed, which, like, I saw some people are saying they were
boycotted. It's not a real dog, right? Calm down, everyone.
But this is another, again, I feel like just like a wasted opportunity because, I feel bad for the dog, but at the same time, the idea of a deadite dog or dogite, like you said, I like that term. I mean, that to me is like, okay, here's something fun and new and different. Like, let's see what we can do with this. And what do they do? Nothing.
I mean, yeah, you can also kind of get into Resident Evil territory because it's very similar to just having because obviously a dog doesn't speak like a deadite would normally. It's very similar to just the Cerebus zombie dog from Resident Evil in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just kind of bloody and violent, and that's about it. So there's a sequence just before the lunch scene where the dad, almost as if he's trying to fight the deadite possession, like almost like he's feeling it, or the voices are talking to him. He starts to like cut into his own arms, and Alice catches him and like jumps in and like grabs the blade out of his hand, like the little like pocket knife that he's got, and like takes it for herself, which is a bit of a what do you call it, a Chekhov's knife, because she's got that in her pocket for the rest of the movie. But he just kind of looks at her and says, "Don't tell my wife," and that's kind of it, which I think is an interesting sequence for a couple of reasons. One, it's probably like the first time that Alice has done something in the movie that is kind of like just an inherently good thing, right? It's not about her own misery. This is her stopping someone who she doesn't even like very much because the parents have been awful to her, but she's like, no, I'm not going to let him kill himself. So she jumps in and stops that. So that's a cool, thing for your hero to do. But the way he just says, "Don't tell my wife," like, I've definitely seen speculation online. Does this suggest that he has self-harmed before and that this isn't necessarily that out of the ordinary? Because it's interesting that she doesn't tell anyone. She just kind of keeps looking at him during the lunch anytime he's going for a knife or like a corkscrew or anything, and she keeps like sort of pulling it away, and just like at one point she like takes up his knife away and just sits it on the other side of her plate to just get it away from him. And I'm like, okay, if you actually think he's going to have an outburst at any time, you should probably tell someone, maybe not his wife, but tell the other, your friends, his son perhaps, that this is a thing that's going on. And then of course
Absolutely,
that's when he bubbles up over the scene and gets more intense until he stabs the dog violently. And that's when they're all like, what the hell? And then he kind of kills over, right, and starts having like I don't know if it's a seizure per se, but he basically, they're like, okay, we have to get him to hospital, something's clearly wrong. I mean, first of all, he's having these weird outbursts, but so it's Joseph and Thea who take him in their car and sit him in the back seat, and they're driving to a hospital or wherever. Not that they get anywhere near it, but like, they're on a country road when everything goes down in a minute. But I do think the scene inside the car, though, when he starts attacking them, is pretty good, because it's very rapid. It really makes use of the fact that they're in a small space, and it kept surprising me with how, and I guess because I almost thought Thea was the second main character for a while, so I was really surprised when she started getting her fingers like cut off in the car door, or whatever else was happening during that sequence. And then eventually, of course, the what would you even call it, the car seat head, because now you can pull them out and it's got the two metal spikes. She gets that impaled into the side of her face, and like one of them's going through her eye and cheek or whatever, and it's pretty brutal. It's really nasty. It's very good. And this is the scene where Joseph kind of pulls a heel turn, because even though he tries to help her for the first like half of the fight, there's definitely a moment in this scene where he just says, "F this, I'm leaving," and leaves her to his crazy father. He wouldn't shoot him for one, right? He couldn't pull the trigger, which I understand the hesitance, right? He doesn't really know what a deadite is yet. This is still his dad, technically. I understand the mixed feelings there. But he straight up climbs out of the sunroof while she's still been attacked, and then happens to look through the window as he sees the final killing blow that kills her. And he runs back to the house, obviously. And I'm like, oh, you're a coward. You're a little bitch. I am going to enjoy when you get your comeuppance later. And sure enough, he gets like thrown around the house like an absolute ragdoll later on, which is good. But what did you make of the car sequence overall?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is good. Like, it's very strange to me because there's like two opposite ends like of the spectrum of the movie, where it's like the story and the characters, to me, they're just like so nothing. But yeah, like I'll give it credit, like the gore and the kills, and there's a lot of stuff that's very brutal and very inventive, and like, so that stuff, I'd go as far to say is like great. But it's just, I just find it hard to care about it when I'm,
that's fair,
just this little bit invested in the story. And like, I almost kind of wish that like, that the characters were just like more boring or generic or something in a way, because then at least it's like I don't have negative feelings about them. It's just like, okay, these are just whatever, and they're just like these vehicles to these cool kills. Yeah. Like Final Destination movies or something, I usually don't care that much about the characters, but you kind of go with it.
That's why I would maybe disagree with you said the characters and story are such nothing. I'd say maybe what you're saying here is that they're not nothing. That's the problem. If they were nothing, then they'd just be meat bags for the carnage. But the problem is that they're trying so like intensely for one specific thing that just is unpleasant in a way that you just don't like them. It's a little bit different than just they're a little bit generic, but whatever. Hey, look at the meat, the blood flying around, So
exactly, yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. Back at the house, Alice is with the mum Susan and the grandmother, and they're they bury the dog and they go back inside or whatever, and obviously the dog eventually just comes out the grave when Daddy Deadite comes back and whistles him out. But yeah, I mean, honestly, from this point on, a lot of the order of the carnage is difficult to remember. There's definitely a lot of sitting around and barricading the door so the dad can't get in, particularly once Joseph gets back and he's like, hey, no, he's went crazy, everyone barricade, and he's shooting himself in the head, but he's not dying because he's a deadite. And it's like, okay, all right. So we've got a bit of a siege situation happening. And then where it kind of picks up really is when Thea comes back as a deadite and like knocks on the door and is like, oh, please help me. And they open the door and like she's still got the car seat thing like impaled through her. Yeah, and a lot of the disgusting stuff coming up is like, because she does mess up. Yeah, she's the one who does the false teeth thing with the grandmother, where she takes her false teeth out, puts it in her own mouth, and like slobbers all over it, and then takes it back out and puts it back into the grandmother's mouth, which is one of the most disgusting things I have ever seen in a movie. I'm just going to say it. That is so gross.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Like, I do think it is pretty gross. I would say I've seen grosser things. Like, I don't know. I guess we'll jump a little bit ahead, but to me, I thought it was grosser when the mom starts making out with the deadite dad, whose face is just all like bloody and gushy.
And she's not a deadite at this point. She is just enjoying how passionate he's being, because they've not had a lot of passion in the last few years. So she's like, oh, you've not kissed me like that in such a long time. So she's being seduced by a deadite.
Which, again, like, it could be something that was like, that's a bit more interesting if then, we see her like, working more with him, but again, not really much.
It doesn't last for very long. Yeah, she basically makes one deal and then it falls apart, and she's like, you promised, and that's it, it's already over. Because it's like, part of me was thinking during that kiss scene, because he basically climbs up to a second floor window and kisses her through the window, I was thinking, okay, this feels a bit weird for an Evil Dead movie, but then I thought about it and I was like, maybe it's not that far-fetched, because like a lot of the Deadites do try and like seduce the people that cared about them, right? Like, they'll pretend to still be the husband, the wife, the sister, the brother, and they'll be like, hey, I'm still me, you come and help me. So the dad deadite still trying to kiss her and be like, hey, help me, we can save this family or whatever. Like, that's the idea that we're actually going to follow a human who falls for it and does like reciprocate it as much as possible until it goes to shit. That is kind of potentially interesting, but they just don't do enough with it really. The other thing that goes on though, once Thea's in the house, is she fights Joseph, and they set up earlier on
the dishwasher scene.
Yeah, Chekhov's dishwasher, where the dishwasher door's down and all the cutlery's all sticking up as you would, and she like pushes him over and he falls onto it on his back, and she actually sort of like pushes down on him so it keeps going deeper, and I'm like, oh, this is nasty. But he ultimately beats her and kind of wins by smashing her head in repeatedly. Well, I don't even remember what it was. I think it was the candlesticks, wasn't it?
In this
maybe it wasn't this scene, it was the candlesticks, but he bashed her head in with something. That's the important part.
I forget how he gets away here, or maybe she just leaves him alone, because then, is she going after Alice or something next? Because then he later comes in, and I think it's a little hard to see, but what I thought was that he was actually hitting her with the dishwasher door. He basically comes in with like, this big object later and just starts smashing her. And
it was definitely something. It wasn't attached to anything though. It was something that if it was the door, it was detached because he was holding it on by either side.
Yeah, but I could be wrong, but I thought that when she's pressing down on him, that the door does like come off and like fall on the floor.
I mean, you may be right. I don't remember. You may be right, but all I know is that it wasn't attached to it, and he was holding something in both hands and like smashing it down until her face just goes into like a pulp. Like he just makes a big dent and her face just flattens from like the top of the mouth upwards. It's just like flat surface at that point.
But that would have been after that, because there's a scene where I guess like they knock her back and like she goes into the basement.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's in the basement for a while, and then the grandmother lets her out. Yeah.
And there's some fun stuff here, because I actually thought it was like a good scene when she falls down, because like they do it in a way where it's kind of like her head lands first and then like her body kind of like a second later like falls back and the camera follows it, and like I thought that looked pretty cool. And then I did think there was I'm a little mixed on this, because part of me feels like I don't think we should see a Deadite do this, but I did think it was kind of funny when she's like trapped in the basement, like a little bit of her facing kind of see through, kind of like, Shining style. And like the grandma is there, and they have like a conversation. Like and at first it kind of seems like the Deadite's like, oh, I'm gonna have to try to trick her to come out, but then like, the grandma, since she's suffering from dementia or whatever, is just like automatically like, all right, now if I let you out, like, you'll promise you'll give the money back or whatever. And the Deadite just kind of does this take like, oh, yeah, like she's kind of taken back. And on the one hand, I kind of feel like that breaks like the rules of how like a Deadite should act, but it did give me like a little bit of a chuckle, I gotta admit.
You're right. I completely forgot there was a whole section where she was trapped in the basement for a bit, and basically while that's happening, like the other characters are, talking about the research of the grandfather or whatever is going on. It's just that other stuff. Because the mother gets knocked out at one point and whatever else, but ultimately when the dad like kisses her through the window later on after they've dealt with Thea, she basically lets him in because like, hey, she wants to put this family back together, and like she's given in to him, and it doesn't work very well for very long. And the big scene that the teaser trailer took something from is when the dad just starts like messing up Joseph around the entire house, because during the carnage, like, Alice is involved for a good bit, right? And by this point, she may have even had to fight with the mum where she said your son was abusive or whatever. I don't really remember. Again, a lot of the order of this stuff is hard to remember on a first time viewing because there's just so much that happens in this middle chunk in the house. But the teaser trailer is basically she wakes up from being knocked out for a little bit and Joseph's getting thrown around like a rag doll. So we follow her in a one take shot, like crawling around and like dodging the carnage. But you just see every so often Joseph goes flying across and hitting a wall or smashing a table or whatever. And it's very cathartic because he was a coward earlier on. So you get to kind of enjoy him getting his comeuppance here a little bit. Yeah. Well, I did anyway.
Oh, no, I agree. I actually quite like this scene. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can debate if they should have like spoiled it in the trailer or something, because it probably would have been kind of cool to, not expected to see it out of nowhere. But very well done, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that teaser trailer is the only trailer I saw, and it kind of made me think the movie was going to be great because it was such a good shot.
Yeah, there was like one other trailer I saw after it, but like surprisingly, I didn't see it that often. Like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they're very weird with like the marketing. Like, I feel like I should have been seeing this because I mean, we've been seeing like a lot of stuff in the theater lately, and I don't know if I saw this once in the theater. Maybe once, or maybe I watched it at home.
Take Backrooms for example. I saw the Backrooms trailer before every movie I saw for about a month before I saw Backrooms. So I saw that trailer every week for about 4 weeks. And then Backrooms came out. Yeah. I don't think I ever got an Evil Dead Burn trailer in theaters. Not once.
Yeah, not that I can think of. Yeah.
Nah, weird. Very, very strange. I keep getting Spider-Man trailers, so I'm glad when that's coming out, so I don't have to see it anymore.
Man, I can just imagine, like, if the Spider-Man movie sucks, I feel bad for Raimi just looking at this and Spider-Man's been, man, look how they massacred my boys.
So she's sneaking around and whatnot, and another section of this that I really like is there's some chasing up through the house and she's looking for the dagger and whatever. But one part that I really liked is she gets like a weed whacker, I think it is. It's like the long gardening tool with the circular blade at the end.
Which is nice. It's like, okay, yeah, we're not just doing the chainsaw again. You're getting your own weapon. Like, that was cool.
And she's running around the house and whatnot. She ends up going into the chimney, though, because she climbs out onto the roof, and she goes down the chimney, and, like, the Deadites, like, try to follow her down. I think the mother's also a Deadite by this point, if I remember right. And they're trying
at that point, yeah.
Yeah, they're climbing down the chimney to get to her. And she just like sticks that weed whacker up and starts cutting. So you get a shot at the bottom of the fireplace where there's just blood coming down. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. I like that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I guess what we keep saying here is the actual carnage, the actual Evil Dead carnage is pretty good when it's happening, right? Aside from maybe a little stuff at the end, which is maybe a bit too CG and, not well shot. But
it's just so weird because I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm too attached to the franchise, or maybe like we were saying before that, you know, they're just trying too much to hammer the story in front of you that makes it upsetting. But I mean, there's plenty of horror movies where I'm like, yeah, the story sucks, the characters are dumb, but the kills are so good that it's super fun. I love it, you know? So it's kind of weird that I'm like, this has like a lot of cool kills and set pieces, but I think the movie sucks.
Yeah, it may just be that you hold the franchise in too high regard, so you expect better. I mean, I think the fact that the carnage and the kills are as good as they are means that I'm not going to be mad buying this at some point on sale to complete the set. You know, I'm like, yeah, it'll be the sixth one. It's fine. Like, you know, I definitely own worse sequels than other franchises, Tim.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I like, again, yeah, as you can tell, I wasn't too happy with the movie, but I was like, you know what? I own all the other ones. I think I have steelbooks for almost, if not all of them. So I was like, all right, I might as well pre-order the steelbook. And of course, it's sold out. I mean, the movie's only been out for a day. Why, you know, why would the steelbook not sell out?
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, because yeah, I'm just, you know, it's like, I mean, it's not even in the bottom like rankings for like the sixth movies in franchise. Like, this is better than Halloween 6. It's better than Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. You know, like there's
absolutely, yeah,
like this is, as far as part 60s go, this is not that bad. It's just, you know, not up to the standard that a lot of the other Evil Dead movies are.
No, totally, and I even said that too with like Evil Dead Rise, where I forget what the score I gave, like somewhere between like a 6 and a 7, which isn't horrible, but like to me, it's like, well, it's a steep drop off to like, you know, 4 movies that I would like, you know, not mind giving a 10 like to each one, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it is higher than that, and I would say a little above Army of Darkness, but that, you know, that's sure. Fine. So, yeah, I mean, again, a lot of carnage going on, and you're kind of just waiting for Will to show up, right? Because you know we're building up to Will, right? All of this is building up to Will.
And we should mention too, so at some point she, I mean, again, like you're saying, it's hard to keep track of everything. She does like kind of rescue the mom at some point, and they're like in a bathroom together, but she ties her up because she doesn't really trust her. And then she uses like the weed whacker to cut a hole in the ceiling. So she goes to the attic to try to find the dagger. And again, I don't know, this just kind of felt lazy to me, where it's like, yeah, you have this MacGuffin of like, oh, the dagger, we got to find the dagger. Where's the dagger? And then it's just like, well, here's a bunch of daggers. It's one of these. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I love how the grandpa had a box of daggers, and one of them was the dagger we wanted. And I'm like, it was this easy to find. It's just in his box of daggers. I don't know. It's just such a like a lame way of doing it. Yeah, again, just a lame MacGuffin. But once everything kind of, you know, comes down though, right? And she, you know, basically intentionally sets the place on fire. I mean, it wasn't her that put the gasoline everywhere. I think that was like the dad earlier on as a deadite was pouring gasoline on stuff. Or maybe it was another deadite, but it was one of them.
I think it was I think it was the at some point, like when she was trapped in the basement, I think she turns the heat on, and then you see that coming through, and then later on she's dousing everything. And I feel like this is probably like one of the longest times in history where, like, you know, usually when you see like the gas come on in something, I feel like, okay, like 5-10 minutes later, there's gonna be a big explosion. It feels like, oh, like you have to wait the whole movie.
It's like 40 minutes from that point on before you actually get to the fire. But yeah, sure enough, the house ends up on fire, right? Like it's all happening, and by this point, the dad deadite's kind of taken care of. The mum deadite's taken care of. So it's time for Will to make his big reappearance. And throughout the movie, there's these little flashbacks Alice keeps having of this particular instance where he pushed her into like a, basically the stove that had like boiling, like, you know, water or whatever in the pots, and it burned her, like her side, and we actually get a glimpse of her side at one point of like the burns on the side. And I guess, I mean, that's really the main reason why it's called Evil Dead Burn, because the whole story is revolving around the abuse that she did to her. And she even at one point tries to say to the mom, hey, your son did this, and she's like, that was an accident. And she's like, no, it wasn't. And yeah, so, but when he shows up though, they do this thing where he is still so badly like mutilated that he's missing like parts of his rib cage, and he's like a walking just like skeleton with some flesh, and like his face is barely recognizable, and he's all CG. And when I made the comparison to Vecna from Stranger Things, it really is the thing I thought of when I saw him. And they do a lot of like out of focus shots of her just kind of looking, and he's like standing in front of the house on fire. Honestly, the way they decide to like make him look and the way they decide to shoot him kind of like really mitigated the effectiveness of this entire last like battle, because if you said to me on paper, right, and I'm thinking of Evil Dead 2013, I'm thinking of the end of Rise. If you said, with those in mind, and you said to me, okay, the finale of this movie is the final villain, the final like super deadite or whatever, chases her to a construction site, and at the construction site, the fighting's going to play out. They're going to be in a pit that's going to fill with cement, and she's going to like get her hands on some power tools at the construction site. Ends up in a jackhammer. I actually thought it was going to be a chainsaw, because I felt like I saw a chainsaw like dropping in. It was almost like a Resident Evil style. It drops in from above, and like she's going to use this to take out the boss kind of thing.
Bruce Campbell comes out of nowhere. Here's a chainsaw.
Yeah, just tosses it at her. Which, by the way, did you spot the Bruce Campbell photo?
Yeah.
On the stairs.
Good
during one of the comedy moments of the grandmother going up slowly. There's just a Bruce Campbell photo on the wall.
Yeah, and sorry to go back, but I think I just remembered we were trying to think of when they're going after the deadite, and we couldn't remember the first time like what they hit her with. I think I remembered, it's the grandma's leg that.
Oh right. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, this entire last thing, though, because I think because they wanted to do this thing where, he's almost ethereal because we never see him in focus, and we're going to like shoot it like he's a demon coming after her. I actually think it made all of this less fun, because I wasn't enjoying the fight with him.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of took away from actually just enjoying what the fun of it was. I don't know, like, you know, when I think of Evil Dead 2013 and I think of Mia, you know, running from that sort of bloody, like, demon or whatever you want to call it, like there's a sense of like, you know, tension because it's this scary thing coming towards her, whereas this is more just like a blurry zombie like coming at her. And that's not even the worst part about it. The worst part about it is he is constantly spelling out the trauma stuff. He's like, you stayed with me because you like to be abused. You did this because, you know, you didn't want to leave, and this is your fault too. You made me this way. Like, he's just constantly talking about the abuse, and it just kind of feels like it would almost be just more impressive if you kept his mouth shut and we just let it speak for itself instead of like him monologuing about her being like gaslighting her basically from beyond the grave. Like, I don't know, like the whole thing just felt kind of lame from that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely sucked, and especially considering that, like, these are a series of films where the climax is kind of like this huge memorable thing. Like, again, that's been like the best part of like a lot of these movies. And you tell me, it's going to take place in a construction yard. I'm just like thinking of like, all that equipment you can use. And again, like a jackhammer is a cool idea, but it doesn't really do that much. I mean, I only saw this like 2 days ago, and I'm, and granted it was like pretty late at night and everything, but I'm having trouble like exactly remembering like everything that happened in this final scene, other than I thought it was pretty lame. And this should be like, if you are going to be, dealing with like the trauma angle and stuff, this should be like this huge cathartic moment where it's like,
for sure.
Like she's such a badass and rising up and taking out the abuser and stuff. And I guess they go for that, but I just, I just didn't really feel much for it in the moment. I guess probably because, like it just feels so generic and doesn't look good and everything. It's a shame. And then it was also like, is this the same like construction yard that was near the funeral home? It was like
do you know what, I had that same question, Tim, because because that makes sense. It's like, you set it up there so you could pay off. That's why you did that. That's why you had that joke, is so that you knew a construction site was there. But I also felt like they drove home. Like, it felt like, obviously it didn't show us the entire journey, so you can't really judge it entirely, but it felt like it cut ahead as if, this has been like a 20-minute journey or something.
Right,
so, but she runs there in like 2 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was a bit wonky. I feel like that was supposed to be setting up the construction site, but it also feels like it wasn't, 2 minutes down the road from the house. So
right, exactly.
Take your pick there on that. But
I mean, that's pretty much the end. Should we talk about the mid and after credit stuff, or?
Well, just to say, she jackhammers him. The dagger ends up being like not even that big of a factor in the final fight, which I thought was weird since that was your MacGuffin, but okay. But she wins. For once in an Evil Dead movie, we actually get like ambulance services and cop cars showing up, and she's like getting treated for So the movie ends on her kind of looking at the camera almost as if like, I'm done with this shit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, because part of the thing early on in the movie is that Will got mad at her for smoking, and she hasn't been doing that all movie, but at the end she smokes, and it's kind of like she's finally free of him. And it's like, okay. And then she looks right at the camera, and it's like, oh, boom, all right.
Which is fair, but you still shouldn't smoke. It's.
I mean, I agree. It stinks. But no,
these little kids watching the movie and then going, I want to get a cigarette now.
I mean, you shouldn't take your little kids to Evil Dead Burn, Tim, to be fair. This is a pretty strong R rating. Let's be honest here. So, yeah, there's a mid-credit and a post-credit. The mid-credit's mostly just like a little joke almost. It's basically dead-eyed grandmother like crawling outside and someone like comes to help her kind of thing, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess Granny survived. Cool.
Yeah, whatever. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So obviously that happens, and I know there's an end credit scene, so I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm like, okay, what could this be? And it goes back to the funeral parlor, right? And also, I want to mention here before we talk about it, the director of this movie did not make this scene. This was added on after the fact by the studio. I don't know if it's maybe like the director of Wrath came in and did this, or just someone they got to do one scene. I don't know. But this is something that wasn't planned as part of the movie originally. Okay. So it's the funeral parlor, and the woman who was doing the funeral service earlier is there with her daughter. And she's like, I'm sorry I brought you into work on a Saturday, but I've got some stuff to do. And the daughter's asking questions about the urns. And when the mum leaves to go do something, the daughter starts looking at the urns and she's reading out the names. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't remember the names because basically she gets to a name that is a character from a previous movie, and I did not remember it because I don't remember character names. Unless your name's Ash, I don't remember a single character. Well, okay, Linda, but that's only because there's several Lindas.
I didn't recognize the names, and I didn't look them up either, but I'm guessing from the context clues that those were the kids from Evil Dead Rise.
I don't know if they were the kids.
Or someone from Evil Dead Rise?
Yeah, well, the mum. It's the mum from Evil Dead Rise.
Okay.
Ellie.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one of them was Ellie, but I thought one of them was like Christopher or something like that.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and check time. But it doesn't matter. That's not really the important part. The important part is that the little girl looks in the mirror and sees the deadite from the last movie, Evil Dead Rise, and I'm like, wait, what? And she like talks to her, and she's like says whatever, and then the girl touches the mirror. She disappears from the reflection, but then she appears behind her. And like, I appreciate this because horror movies are so scared of doing this normally. She just kills this kid. And I'm like, yeah, more kids need to die in horror movies. This is great. But she kills the kid, and then she's like, Mummy's back. And then it cuts to black, and it comes up saying her credit, because obviously they didn't want to spoil it by putting her name earlier on. And it's obviously this weird can of worms, because I'm like, wait, so you've brought the main deadite, who people like, to be fair, which is probably why they're doing it, but you're bringing her back from Evil Dead Rise for some purpose. Because we're doing franchise, we're doing almost an MCU style tease of what a future movie might be. And the weird thing is, Tim, is that I'm pretty sure the next movie, Evil Dead Wrath, is a period piece set in the 70s. So this post-credit scene...
That's correct.
Can't really have anything to do with that movie. So what are they planning, like Evil Dead Avengers, where they're going to have like characters from like all the movies showing up in like 2 movies' time?
Well, I guess we got the mom and the granny deadite, so maybe they can team up. And
I'd assume Alice, Mia, I forget the main character who survived in the last one was, but her, the sister of Ellie.
So just a few quick things. So one is, this funeral director seems pretty like she doesn't seem to be happy to be going into work, but she does seem pretty blasé, considering the fact that I'm assuming she probably saw like her other worker like brutally murdered, like not the actual act of murder, but I'm assuming she would have like stepped in that room at some point and seen like just it covered in blood, at some point. So it is kind of funny that she seems to be like very just, oh well, gotta go about your day or whatever.
Unless this is set first, but that would be even weirder because she kept coming back to work after her daughter get killed.
Right.
That wouldn't make much sense either.
Yeah. And then so also so like I said before, I wasn't sure. If there were scenes or whatever. So I looked up on my phone real quick, and like the thing said like there's an after credit scenes that features the shocking return of. And then when I saw that, I quickly stopped reading it because like, oh, I don't want to be spoiled. So then when we're getting to this part, I was like, okay, so who are they bringing back? Like, are they would they be bold enough to bring back like Mia or something from the reboot? Or like I know Bruce Campbell said he's not going to do any more movies, but is he going to have like a little cameo or something, or blah blah blah? But yeah, I really was the way that like it worded it when I googled it, they made it seem like the fan favorite that everyone loves. It was so excited to see is coming back. So then when it was the character from Evil Dead Rise, I was just like, oh, I mean, I know what you're gonna say, like, oh yeah, but a lot of people like the mom from the last one, which is fine, but it's just like it wasn't what I was like expecting. I was like, oh, that's it.
I mean, whatever. It was surprising. Like I wasn't expecting it. And to be fair, you're only disappointed because you read the shocking return before you saw it. If you hadn't read that and didn't know it was coming, you wouldn't have given a shit. You'd have been equally like me, like, wait, why? And also, so aside from like, what are they even planning with bringing her back? It's like, okay, so she came back through a reflection. Like what exactly? Like, did killing the kid give her the life force to come back into the world, or what? Like, what exactly is this new rule that we're playing with here, where deadites can come back like this?
Yeah, I have no idea. Also, like, they have like her ashes or whatever, and I mean, I don't know if they say exactly where this takes place, but like the last one was like downtown Los Angeles, and I mean, this kind of seemed like. I mean, this like I'm assuming this is like still in California somewhere, but it seems like it wouldn't really be that.
No, Tim, there's no way this was California.
Well, that's plenty of places that look like this, like the more
where
like
the house was.
You go. Yeah, I could see like a place like that.
I don't know. It looked really cold to me the entire time, so I would never have guessed California looking at this.
I mean, it would be like pretty far up north in like a woodsy area or something.
Okay, but if you told me to guess, I'd have been like somewhere in the Carolinas, Virginia, like vicinity. That would have been my guess.
I mean, that could even be possible too. But then, I mean, that begs the question though: why the hell are their urns or ashes or whatever being like transported?
Oh, that's a good question. But like, I mean, like I don't like you obviously know California more than I do, but not even a second did I consider that this was somehow in the same state as the last movie.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's not like what you usually would think of as California, but the only reason why I thought it was is because I was thinking that there had to be some connection between this and Rise, But
here's a question though, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is it, given that the last movie took place in LA, is her ashes being in North California any more reasonable than them being in any other state? Really? Because California's a pretty big state.
It's still weird, yeah.
Yeah, like, because they'd be at a local place, presumably somewhere in the same district, right, you'd imagine, give or take. So it's equally weird, even if it is North California.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like, either way, it doesn't make any sense. It did annoy me because, it does feel like it's... I mean, I don't care. Like, I like little post-credit scenes and stuff, but at the bare minimum, have it make sense or whatever.
I mean, maybe there'll be some like kind of rough explanation where, because like deadite stuff's happening at this funeral parlor, like the mysteriously somehow came here because this is like a nexus point of deadite activity or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe that's what Will was doing when he wasn't showing up at the house. He was going around collecting like potential returning deadite urns and be like, put that one on the shelf, that one on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, again, like maybe they're gonna build up to something interesting, but I don't like the idea of like these deadites sticking around and like having plans and stuff. Because like you said, she says like, oh, Mummy's back, like as if to say, oh, I have like some big plans for what to do next, and it's like, no, like you should just want to be like causing chaos and stuff. You shouldn't be having like some big plan to do this or that or whatever. And also, like, you know, you had your movie. I don't want you to become like the face of the franchise, you know, like it's like Hellraiser or something where like everything is pinhead, you know, when it's like, no, like it's like, you know, each movie can be its own thing or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. The kid dying was kind of fun, but other than that, though, it kind of annoyed me just being like, what the hell is this?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I kind of appreciate these modern ones just being standalone movies, but clearly they want to do something that ties them together in some way, and maybe that will mean bringing a character from each of them back or something for one weird crossover movie. It's weird to call it a crossover because it's still just Evil Dead, but you know what I mean, like relative to like them all being separate. So, I mean, while they do that, I don't know. I mean, this one's not performing that well. Like I mean, it was low budget. It only cost 20 million to make, so it's going to make a profit probably, but it's not knocking anyone's socks off. So we'll see if they actually want to go through with it. And obviously they've got Wrath's already shot, so that'll definitely still come out, and we'll see what that's like. But that said, though, Wrath being set in the 70s, though, does imply to me that they have some game plan, and that's probably going to set up stuff. Like, there's going to be backstory, and maybe we'll even see the grandfather character in the or not the flashbacks, but in that movie. Like, maybe it'll be set in the 70s, and it'll be them looking for the cabin or looking for the Book of the Dead. And although that said, a lot of the entries in the grandfather's diary was like 1982 and 1983, so I don't know if maybe it'll be like people who were before him looking into this stuff from the Circle of the Wise Men or whatever it is.
I think that name is so stupid.
It's a stupid name. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and like again, I just want there to be this crazy book that stupid people read and then have to like fight for their lives. I don't want this whole big thing where there's this ancient order that had these magical weapons that fight some. And
I agree somewhat, Tim, but I did actually like in this movie that at one point Alice picks up like the book, not the actual Book of the Dead, but she picks up like a book of notes, and it has all the words in it, and she starts reading them one by one, and she reads 3 out of the 4, and she gets to the 4th one, and she goes, nah, F this, and puts it down. I actually thought that was pretty funny. That was a kind of,
I like that too.
If there's one joke that made me laugh in this movie, it was her just noping out of actually saying the bad words.
No, I thought that was funny. Yeah, but I am curious because I think there was like a story early on in the year or whatever where like I believe like Raimi and Campbell were like pretty involved in these movies, and then like, you know, in terms of like talking to the directors, hearing their pitches and kind of working with them to, you know, massage the story and stuff. And then, you know, Campbell I think put out a press release basically saying like that he had some differences with one of the movie, which I don't know if they said if it was this or Wrath, but from what he was saying, it kind of sounds like he was maybe referring to this, where it's like, yeah, you know, you get these young directors and they kind of just want to do their own thing, and they don't really care about like, you know, why a character would be doing this or that or blah, 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 or whatever. And it kind of made it seem like, yeah, like I was talking to the director and they just want to do their own thing, and I'm just kind of bowing out, and like, you know, he's still producer on name or whatever, but doesn't really have as much to do. And then I mean, that does kind of make me a little worried with like the future of these movies. I mean, we'll see. It is weird because a lot of times a movie like this would happen, I'd be like, well, I screw the franchise, I'm over it now. But I am actually still really excited for Wrath, mostly because I like the director that's doing it. I like the other movie he made, so I'm having hope. But
which was what?
I mean, I like it's the director. He did this movie called Last Stop in Yuma County, which isn't even really a horror movie, but it is like I guess it's like kind of like a basically about like a people being taken hostage in a diner, but it is like kind of like comedic and stuff, and it's actually really good. I would recommend checking it out.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, I say that, but also I like this director's last movie too, and it didn't really work out, so I don't know what that says. But I'm still hopeful for Wrath, so I don't know. We'll see.
All right, let's finally wrap this thing up, Tim. What are you rating Evil Dead Burn out of 10?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it, and again, it's, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like bottom of the barrel. But yeah, I do think it is just extremely uneven. Again, there's these two opposing forces where if you just like Evil Dead for like the gore and the brutal kills, then yeah, maybe you can look past some like, you know, the story stuff and character stuff. But I don't know, for me, as much fun as that stuff is, it did drag the movie down quite a bit. Like I, you know, unfortunately couldn't just, you know, shut my brain off and be like, oh, let me just enjoy these kills, not worry about, you know, what these people are saying or whatever. So ultimately, while there's stuff I enjoyed, I am pretty negative on this one, but I'm not going to go like, you know, super duper low. So I think I'm going to give it, I'm debating between like a 4 or 4.5. The gore and the set pieces were pretty good, and there were like some pretty decent shots, so maybe I'll be charitable and give it the 4.5. So I guess it's just kind of, yeah, just shy down the middle of like, you know, me disliking it, but it gets enough points for having like some, again, you know, a lot of cool kills and gore and set pieces and stuff. So that there's something to be said about that, I guess. But overall, I did think it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be a little bit more positive than you, just because, like, I don't think it's all bad. Like, there's good scenes in there to enjoy. That in a lot of movies would be enough to just like the movie, but here the characters are so miserable to actually like follow, and it beats you over the head with its, you know, like, again, it's not even really subtext. They just have a character. We have the villain at the end monologuing about it, just in case you didn't get all the signs all the way throughout of her finally getting free of that hold and whatnot. And then the family are just like they're just horrible characters to actually watch. And it's not like, oh, they're kind of just shitheads so you can feel happy when they get their comeuppance, right? The one character that gets his comeuppance in a sense is Joseph, that I did enjoy, but it's not like, oh, the dad was an asshole, so now I'm happy that he's getting, you know, beat up as a deadite or whatever. But I never quite got that. So there's just enough moments where I'm kind of like, this is a weird choice, or I don't like that choice, or these characters are a bit of a pain to like follow. But there's enough good sequences of gore and violence that I think I would still put it over the halfway line. I think I'm going to go with a 5.5. But it is definitely the weakest Evil Dead movie. Like, there is no debating that. So, extreme mixed bag. So disappointing for sure. I don't think I would cross the line into it's bad, but not by much. So that's where I'm standing. So there you go. That is our review of Evil Dead Barn. Next time on Screams After Midnight, we will be doing Send Help, which I probably told you we were doing at the end of Undertone. I probably said next week we're doing Send Help, but ignore that because Evil Dead Burn was a week earlier than I thought it was. So you're getting Send Help next week. So yes, which we already recorded, obviously, and you'll see how we feel about that. Which is, funnily enough, a Sam Raimi movie, which we didn't intend on having that go back to back with Evil Dead, but hey, that's a fun little bit of connective tissue. That's hey, that's something. But hey, that is the show, everyone, though. Thanks for joining us. You can, of course, support everything over at Patreon. Patreon.com/MailFuzzTV really helps us out if you do. Helps keep the show coming. You get access to the bonus Even More Stream segments, which we do most weeks, and the back catalogue of bonus episodes. So go have a look-see. It really does help out a bunch if you do. And thanks to everyone who already does. But that is us. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. This has been a longer episode, so we'll not prolong this outro. We'll see you guys next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye.